We were teenage girls. We were just starting to grow up. We were still learning about our bodies and feelings at that age. So, it was the kind of rock friendship that fans thought would never end, or so it seemed. But now, years later, Lita Ford finally wants to tell the real truth. Her voice sounds hurt and shocked when she talks. She remembers the early days when she, the amazing queen of hard rock, and Ozzy Osbourne, the crazy prince of heavy metal, performed on stages together and jumped right into the wild music world. They went on tours together, partied until the sun came up, and saw the wildest, most out-of-control moments that rock music had to show. But behind the camera flashes and the loud cheering crowds, Lita says there was something bad happening. Something bad that came from big egos fighting crazy blow-ups and a dangerous storm that seemed to follow AZ everywhere he went. What the world saw as a friendship that could never break was really a weak connection breaking apart because flying, scary mood changes, and shocking things that even the toughest rock stars were surprised by. This wasn't just a friendship falling apart, it was a slow motion crash into craziness that Lita says she can never forget. Ozzy Osbourne was never someone who stayed out off trouble. He was basically trouble itself. Long before the fights with Lita came out in the open, he was followed a never-ending storm of bad news that stuck to him like a shadow he could never get rid of. Picture drinking too much and going crazy that ended with smashed dressing rooms, screaming fights that went out into the streets, and drunk blow-ups that turned mean right in front of all scared people watching. Backstage fights often exploded without any warning, sometimes over small insults, other times over deep anger that had been building up for years. Business deals fell apart because of worry and not trusting anyone, with managers and people who set up shows walking away in the middle, saying that Ozzy was just too crazy to work with. His reputation for craziness wasn't just part of the rock and roll story. It was what happened every day. By the time his fights with Lita started, AZ had already burned a path through the music world, leaving behind broken friendships, people who felt betrayed, and infamous bands that were destroyed. Musicians who once looked up to him promised never to on stage with him again. Others quietly said they loved his talent, but were scared of the damage that came with getting too close. In Ozzy's path was a trail of burned bridges, angry enemies, and a history of craziness that no amount of saying sorry or making up could fully fix. When Lita Ford stepped into Ozzy's world, she didn't just join a bandmate, she walked straight into the middle of a hurricane. Their fights weren't just creative arguments about music or song lists. They were raw, emotional, and very personal. On stage, Ozzy's crazy energy could turn from exciting to terrible in a second. He wrote the songs. He sang on these songs. He sent out the tracks to this guy he was working with. He'd miss his timing, change songs while performing, or start weird drinks that left Lita trying hard to keep show going. When not performing, the man who could be really charming over a drink could minutes later blow up in tone-hungry screaming, smashing furniture, or walking out of practice. Arguments often started like fire, exploding into full screaming matches to teach you through dressing rooms and backstage hallways. Crew members learned to run away when voices got loud, knowing that in Ozzy's world, words could quickly turn into dangerous blow-ups more than once. Practice ended with doors slamming and instruments left in the middle of songs, leaving the air thick with anger. The deeper Lita was pulled into Ozzy's world, the more she saw the darker things underneath, his crazy mood changes, the angry feelings that wouldn't go away, and the way his self-hurting actions affected every relationship around him. It wasn't just how it hurt her. It was how it drained everyone in his group from roadies to clothes. Friends until the whole feeling was like it could explode at any moment. Ozzy's fights didn't stop with Lita, not even close. He seemed like he was drawn to fighting, and no group was safe. With Black Sabbath, he fought year-long battles over creative control and personal anger. Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward all have scars from screaming explosions, ruined practice sessions, and tours messed up by late-night disappearances. Record producers shisped about him disappearing for entire weekends before important recording. Times are showing up so drunk that day's work turned into chaos beyond his close circle. Ozzy became mixed up in big public fights with other metal superstars. He famously fought with Dave Mustaine over politics, fought badly with Iron Maiden during festival lineups, sometimes over performance times, other times over feeling disrespected, and said mean things back and forth with Lee Crew's Nikki Sixx over backstage craziness. His fighting spilled into rivalries with Judas Priest over sound equipment, rumors about sabotage, accusations against a CDC over stolen stage ideas, and cold tension with Metallica after casual insults grew into years of awkward avoiding each other. Even artists outside the heavy metal world weren't left alone. Pop stars, punk icons, and blues legends all remembered how his temper hurt or how broken promises frustrated them. I'll see Cal be charming and given 1 week, then unpredictable and mean. The next, saying sorry with big gestures and Lee to start the fight again later. It seemed Ozzy's path was covered with either weak truces or bridges burned so badly they could never be fixed. Ozzy's temper and unpredictability kept to private backstage areas. There were famous on-stage incidents where he threw microphones at photographers, pushed security staff, and even faced unruly audience members head-on. Sometimes, his blow-ups turned concerts into near riots, forcing people who set up shows to end shows early. Rivalries with other rock icons often exploded without warning. Festival lineups became battlegrounds with Ozzy saying public insults and private tirades that kept the rock press talking for months. He fought openly with peers like Bruce Dickinson over feelings slighted, accused other musicians of sabotage, and made fun of rival bands and wasted cross-professional lines. Some fans loved it as pure, unfiltered rebellion. Others saw it as another sign that Ozzy's internal craziness was spilling dangerous into his career. Even his relationship with Sharon, though very loyal, could not protect him from the enemies he made. Industry executives who promised never to work with him again, other headliners who refused to share a bill, and journalists howling from fans to critics after finding themselves in his crosshairs. Away from the stage, Ozzy's life was equally crazy, sometimes even darker than his on-stage acting. His Maria Jado Sharon Osbourne survived not just one, but multiple cheating scandals, each spread across tabloid headlines. Public fights happen in hotel lobbies, backstage hallways, and even during live television appearances, leaving fans shocked at how raw and unfiltered their battles could be. There were breakups and getting back together, each more dramatic than the last, as if their relationship itself lived on chaos. His relationships with his children had their own scars. Years off drug abuse and emotional craziness created deep problems. And while moments of closeness happened, they were often overshadowed by not trusting each other and disappointment. Some children stayed away from him for months at a time, unable to deal with the unpredictability that came with being Ozzy's family. The bright lights of reality television cameras only made every argument, relapse, and breakdown bigger, turning private pain into public spectacle. Ozzy's struggles with drugs and alcohol were never ending. Even after crime promises to change, he would go back into old habits, sometimes disappearing for days, other times showing up so confused that friends feared for his life. The cycle of rehab, relapse, and feeling sorry became a sad pattern. Behind closed doors, money fights flared, family loyalty was tested, and accusations of control and betrayal swirled. For all his legendary status, the chaos after matched the chaos on the road. Never ending, messy, and impossible to escape. The same craziness that made Ozzy Osbourne a once-in-a-generation showman was the same force that could rip friendships apart in the blink of an eye. What made him magnetic on stage? Those unpredictable bursts of energy, the wild swings between genius and madness, also made him a dangerous man to trust behind the scenes. For Lita Ford, the change from loyal friend to outspoken critic wasn't born from one single falling out. It was a slow, painful falling apart. each new hurt cutting deeper than the last. One day she'd be enjoying the Rush off performing beside a rock legend whose charm could set an arena on fire. The next she'd be watching him ruin his own future in a fog of rage, booze, and bitter anger. She had stood in studios her magic should have been made. On Lido see sessions fall apart under the weight of his drunken, angry outbursts. Lyrics shall finish, takes abandon in the middle of songs, sound engineers walking out in disgust. She'd watch tours almost collapse because of a single reckless decision with entire crews scrambling topic up to pieces, while Ozzy seemed made aware of the destruction. There were nights when a small disagreement could grow into an all-out fight, leaving Gavin his closest friend's nursing ganger. And it didn't stop there. He'd burn bridges with festival organizers over tiny slights, shout at promoters over canceled gigs, and take mean aim at other musicians who dare question him, giving public insults with the precision of a knife. It was chaos without limits. The personal mixed into the professional into the personal, until line between them stopped existing. The demons Ozzy fought with in privateered stay locked away. They spilled into every deal, every show, every conversation, turning even moments of success into battlegrounds. Friends became enemies overnight. Opportunities scrundled in his hands. And for those still standing in his orbit, loyalty was no longer a badge of honor, but a gamble with increasingly dangerous odds. For the public, Lita's honest word hit like a bomb. Fans who saw him only as the Prince of Darkness were shocked to hear such raw disappointment from someone who had once defended him. But for the veterans of his inner circle, for those who had survived the storms and seen the destruction up close, it was nothing new. It was simply a truth told openly. Ozzy Osbourne's story was never just about glory. It was a story where every high came shadowed by a devastating